Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dwi Nurfitria Romadhona and I'm here to present my final project for the class Literature and Film. So my final project is titled Comparison of Narratives and Representations in Viscount Who Loved Me and Bridgerton Season 2, a Chapman Framework Analysis. So, Viscount Who Loved Me is a novel by Julia Quinn released in 2000, and it basically the story centers around Anthony Bridgerton, the eldest Bridgerton sibling, who decides that it is time for him to marry, not for love but for duty. He chooses Edwina Sheffield, which later renamed Edwina Sharma in the show, the Diamond of the Season, as his ideal wife. However, he must first win the approval of her older sister, Kat Sheffield, who sees Anthony as a notorious rake and unworthy of Edwina. As Anthony and Kate engage in constant verbal sparring and banter, tension gives way to attraction. Despite their mutual resistance, circumstances and a scandalous bee sting incident force them into a marriage of convenience. Over time, they both confront personal traumas, especially Anthony's fear of dying young like his father, and grow to love each other deeply. So, in here we can see that Anthony actually has a trauma of B and has a trauma of his past experience with his father's death because he was very young, only 18 years old, when his father died of a bee sting, which is a traumatizing experience for Anthony because Edmund Bridgerton, his dad, is his sole role model, and he thought of Edmund as the greatest man has ever alive, and how can he die of a bee sting? It was a very humbling experience for him. So he marries, but he he doesn't intend to find love because his perception of mortality is kind of twisted because he felt like he would never surpass the age of his father, which is 38, and if he find a love match, then his wife will be left alone because he will die eventually at 83. So it's kind of twisted, that's his trauma. And in the book, Kate and Edwina Sheffield is actually they're really good sisters. There is not really any single conflict between them, which is very different in the show adaptation, which I will explain later. So in Bridgerton Season 2, Netflix, produced by Shondaland, it follows the same general arc but with notable adaptations. Anthony Bridgerton seeks a viscountess to fulfill his duty to the family. He targets Edwina Sharma, but her protective sister, Kat Sharma, sees through his cold logic and challenges him at every step. So we can see here that in the show, the race of the Sheffield family is changed. They are Indians in the show, so the Sheffield's name changed to Sharma. This is a very interesting change because later on in the show, there are a lot of Indian heritage and cultures is shown throughout the movie that is very rare and unique to Western shows. So set against backdrop of Regency London in 1814, same as the book, the season built sexual and emotional tension between Anthony and Kate. Key events such as the Pall Mall game, the bee sting scene, and forced proximity moments drive their slow-burn romance. Unlike the book, the love triangle is much more emphasized. Edwina is unaware of Anthony and Kate's feelings for much longer, creating more dramatic tensions. The show also highlights family expectation, identity with the Sharma's family Indian heritage, and grapples with race and class in subtle ways, especially since Kate and Edwina reimagined as Indian women. But the show really dramatized and emphasized the sisterhood between Kate and Edwina and the love triangle between three of them, and Anthony, because in the show, Anthony actually proposed to Edwina, and they were almost married until Edwina realized Anthony's feelings for Kate, and it was a lot of fight, and it was really messy. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna discuss here is medium in narration, from internal monologue to visual drama. According to Chapman, the difference between a novel and film lies in how narrative content or story is delivered through different forms of discourse. In the novel, the narrator can directly assert characters' thoughts, backstories, and internal conflicts. For example, Anthony's physiological trauma regarding his father, his belief of mortality and love are described through omniscient narration and internal monologue, which gives reader intimate access to their physique. In contrast, film adaptations cannot rely on such assertions. The audience does not read inner monologues. Instead, they interpret characters' emotions through dialogue, acting, facial expressions, and visual metaphors. To compensate for the lack of textual interiority, Bridgerton turns many internal tensions into external conflicts. One of the clearer examples is the dramatization of the love triangle, which I will explain later, but in this specific scene, I want to show that. Wait. I want to show the difference, how they depict, how the novel and the film differently shows Anthony's trauma. In the book, you can see that in this paragraph, and when he left the room, he left with a new vision of his own life and new knowledge about his own mortality. Edmund Bridgerton had died at the age of 38, and Anthony simply couldn't imagine ever surpassing his father in any way, even in years. So this specific paragraph asserts the idea of our perception and shape our perception of Anthony, and it asserts the idea of Anthony having different perception on mortality because the death of his father. While in the film, as we can see here, I will play the scene.
Many memories, good and bad. I only hope you are acting with a clear mind.
You have wanted me to marry for years. And now you suggest I wait?
I did not say that. I only want you to be certain.
My lord, might we begin with the arrangements? The minister will need to be called, and the casket, of course, one will need to be built.
Forgive me, my lord, but I have questions about the body. Should I move it from his chambers?
There is also the business of the letter.
As we can see in that scene, rather than text, the film shows Anthony's trauma through scenes. Like, for example, it doesn't show Anthony's inner monologue with himself, but rather the scene cut where Anthony actually having a flashback and remembered the time where his trauma started, which is when his father died. So yeah. One thing I'm gonna discuss is the race and representation, the Sharma sisters and Shondaland's creative vision. Another striking difference is the racial reimagining of the characters. In the original novel, Kate and her family are white and English. However, in the series, the Sheffield sisters become the Sharma sisters, portrayed by Indian actors with cultural references added to their names. For example, Catherine became Kathani and Sheffield became Sharma. This decision is closely tied to Shonda Rhimes' inclusive production ethos. By diversifying the cast, Bridgerton challenges traditional period drama norms. Rather than offering a historically accurate depiction, the show crafts a color-conscious alternate Regency reality. It preserves the core of the characters while broadening cultural representation, making room for Indian customs. For example, like in these specific scenes, which is haldi ceremony, and which is a ceremony for from India heritage cultures that for a bride that is gonna be wed soon. So especially in the scenes where the Sharmas confront English societal expectation. So so this is very interesting, and it's a creative direction of Shondaland that is also going through the whole Bridgerton franchise, not just this specific season. And this demonstrates how story remains intact, but the discourse changes to reflect a more inclusive vision, aligning with Chapman's model that adaptation often reshapes discourse for contemporary relevance. The third thing I'm gonna discuss today is character relationships, assertion, conflict, and audience impact. Okay, let's see this scene first.
Yes, Kate? Kate, perhaps you might find that tea. It is not tea that I want. What I want is the truth. Oh, certainly your words fail you, sister.
Edwina, Kate, I am not sure what is going on.
I should tell you what is going on, Mama. After a lifetime of filling my head with nonsense of all this talk of great, gallant notions and looks between us, you have feelings for him. All this time, you wanted him for yourself.
No, that is not.
Oh, you cannot deny it now, Kate.
Okay, so in the novel, Kate and Edwina are close and their bond is never truly threatened by Anthony. Edwina even encourages the match once she realizes Kate's feelings. This reflects a more internal physiological grounded tension where guilt, fear, and love build up through thought rather than external events. In contrast, the series deliberately alters this relationship to inject more dramatic tension. Edwina is not only a rival in love but almost becomes Anthony's bride, which gets very messy as we see in this scene. The emotional fallout and family conflict become a central plotline in season 2. This difference can be explained using Chapman's narratological difference between events and existence. The book prioritizes existence, the depth of characters, while the film prioritizes events or plot points to visually dramatize emotional acts. The shift from internalized to externalized conflict reinforces the limits of cinematic story. Shared traumas and the elder sibling burden. So the consistency aligns with Chapman's concept of kernel events, which is a crucial narrative points that are retained across versions because they are structurally necessary to the story's emotional and thematic coherence. Okay, I want to show that in this particular paragraph, it is shown that, and so the two girls were forced to make their debuts in the same year. So because the poverty of the Sheffield family, one of the girls have to marry in order for them to secure a good future. And even in that situation, Kate feels that it is her responsibility to marry Edwina to a good husband of a good prospect, not herself. And like that sense of responsibility came because she is the firstborn and the first child. While Anthony also goes through the same thing. Like we can see here that in this his position as head of the Bridgerton family carried with it serious responsibilities, and Anthony generally found it easier to attend to these responsibilities while in close proximity to the rest of his family. And I'm gonna show you a scene where Anthony said it.
Is on the brink of ruin. I'm nearly certain every last one of my brothers and sisters secretly despise me, my own mother at that, despite the fact I've lived the better part of my life.
He said that even when the family is in the brink of ruin and like he done everything he can and he had lived better part of his life for them, this shows that the responsibility that Anthony carried, which is really similar to Kate, like we can see here.
To save my family. Everything I have ever done
Has it been for them?
has been for them. You are the one who...
Yeah, so she said that she came here resolved to save her family. So This specific theme of responsibility stayed the same throughout two different mediums. So this emphasized the kernel events theory from Chapman. Because this arc is like the foundation of the whole story. In conclusion, through the lens of Chapman's narratology, the comparison between The Viscount Who Loved Me and Bridgerton Season 2 reveals a very complex and, I should say, layered transformation of narrative discourse. The adaptation modifies character dynamics, dramatizes internal conflicts, like it made the story to a whole different level where it like kind of feels like a soap opera. Like the drama is really there, really apparent compared to the book, and it also reconfigures representation, particularly race, to suit the medium and its audience. While the story largely remains the same, the discourse evolves to reflect new cultural conversations and the constraints of visual storytelling. So that is my take on the narrative shift between Viscount Who Loved Me and Bridgerton Season 2, and thank you for listening.